Okay. Hello, everyone. It is so lovely to have you here today. I hope that everyone can hear me. Terry, can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine, Nikki. Morning, everybody.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It is so lovely that we have you here today with us. Today, welcome to our exciting assembly. Anyone can code how every coder is an author. Today isn't just about code. It's about how each of you can be an author in your own coding world, but with a very slight digital twist. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, and I want to give us a little few housekeeping notes just before we start. So before we dive in, teachers, we are really keen to connect with you throughout this assembly and also beyond. We want to make sure that you guys get the best and the most takeaway out of this. So we have here, to facilitate this, we would love for you to share your questions along the way. We know that you're going to be engaging with your classes as we go through this and all your students who are sitting, hopefully watching with us. And we would like you to share your questions and thoughts on our Padlet. We have a QR code on the screen now, and you will see it on every single slide as we go through, so that you really can, if you lose that link, don't worry, take another snapshot and open that on your iPad or whatever device you have. We would also really love for you to type your questions directly into the post on the Padlet. We've got a special space for you, and we aim to address them either as they come up, or we're going to wait if they're brilliant questions or we think that they'll provide us with some more focus during the end. We're going to actually read those out at the end in our dedicated Q&A session. Okay. On the screen now, you can see that's QR code. Scan it now. And I want you to message our lovely Terry, who is sitting there. She's watching the feed and she is waiting for all of you to say hi. So give her a lovely Giphy wave, or even a little audio message from your students, and let us know what school you're in and where you are. We would also love to know more about you and your coding experience, your passion, and a little bit about your know-how. So tell us on the Padlet, how many of you have tried coding before, and what is your coding superpower? So how many of you have tried coding before, and what is your coding superpower? Terry, please keep an eye out for us and let us know which class is the first to respond. So there's that QR code, have a scan. What's your coding superpower, please? So, Terry, move us on. Slide 3. While Terry waits for you to give her a little wave and tell us about your coding background, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about EU Code Week, which is really why we're here today. We are celebrating EU Code Week, which is a fantastic grassroots movement supported by the European Commission. The aim is to promote computational thinking and make coding more visible and bring people together to explore our digital world. And why do you think coding is so important? Well, it's more than just computer programming. It's a skill set that opens up a world of possibilities for you. When you code, you join a team of people who are curious about the world and about how the digital world works. You begin to think like problem solvers, and you love turning your creative ideas into something real. So, Terry, how many coding superheroes have we got with us today?
We have about 10 schools with us here today. We've got Hayling Primary School, who I can see logged in. We've got some guests from Parkdale School. So, yeah, the messages are just coming through now on the Padlet.
So good. Right, everyone, you have that Padlet. We really want to know who you are, where you are, and what your questions are, okay, as we go through. So next slide. Now that we've set the stage, let's move on to our first coding superhero. So along the way today, we're going to tell you a few really lovely stories from people in the coding world, whether that's a teacher, some students who have designed the most amazing app and have it on the Apple iTunes store for us all to download. And then we also have an actual coder in the world of programming and computer science. So that is fascinating. So now we're going to take us into the world of coding, and we're going to have a look at what this microbit is. Have you seen what a microbit is? Does anyone at their school have a microbit? Tell Terry if you've got a microbit at your school. We would love to know about it. So picture a mini computer that's small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Just as a pencil lets you write your own stories, a microbit allows you to create your own digital adventures, games, and even small robots. So what is one story you would like to bring to life using a microbit? Let's play this video, and then you're going to see what these kids did with their microbits.
I am Pwami. I'm 8 years old. I love brown bears and I want to save them. This is my project.
A microbit is a little computer which helps me and my friends to learn programming skills in a different way.
It has 2 buttons, some sensors, and an LED display, all of which you can program using the online editor.
What I love about the microbit is that it opens up a world of digital possibilities and empowers students to think creatively. From students creating games to use in PE, to designing new ways to fight climate change, the microbit supports lessons that make digital skills relevant to the world around them.
I've seen the microbit makes a difference to my students' engagement levels. It is such a tangible way to develop coding. It's real, it's exciting, and it really gives them the confidence to try new things and to experiment.
No matter where you come from, having the opportunity to develop technological skills using the microbit can really make an impact on students' lives.
So I want you to meet Cora. Cora is a brilliant author of coding, and if you have ever been captivated by the magical worlds of Beast Quest or Harry Potter, you'll instantly grasp why she's so great. She writes stories through coding, and she also uses her imagination to work out how she can use the microbit to really take her ideas further and further. Her particular expertise is making science and technology come alive. So she loves experimenting with science and working out how she can test things using the microbit. Cora cannot be with us today, so I want you to give us a warm welcome anyway, because I'm going to show you exactly what some of the things that Cora does, and you're going to meet Cora herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Miss Yang, and I'm here today just try to show you several coding stuff I have done, and also I'm gonna show you a really cool project you can code it with a microbit. So I have been teaching coding a lot with primary and secondary students. If you can see my t-shirt, this is our tech club t-shirt. So in our club, we also do a lot of things related to codings, and we code on robotics like VEX, and we coded on Lego EV3. And the most cool thing is that we coded on Tinkercad. and we generate this very cool little pen holder. So if you see it, one little frame is one function, and we repeat it 23 times. This is a really, really good way for you to introduce how functions works. And to be honest, my favorite is microbit. Today I'm going to show you how you can code on microbit.
La. La.
Oh, it actually goes higher now. This, can this go even higher than this? I don't know. Oh, it went all the way here. I can only go up to the second top bar. I can't really go up to the top even though you're screaming into it.
I'm going to try to turn this back.
Okay. Cora has just done so many things. Now, teachers, you can find out more about what Cora has done on the Padlet. There's lots of bits and pieces there. And she is also great. I know last year I was working with some teachers who were looking at how to use Tinkercad on the iPad, but also using those ideas of making and creating things and shapes out within Tinkercad. And Cora's got some brilliant Tinkercad ideas, which you saw on that video right at the end. So now we've had that. Now we've prepared a Padlet full of those activities. And we've also put on there a downloadable template so that you can go and have a look and use those microbit activities later with your students. We've put a Keynote template on there, which I'll talk about a little bit later, so that you can really go in and have a look at how you might design your own app You don't need to use an iPad. You don't need to use Microbit. You don't need to have Tinkercad. You could just have Keynote and your iPad, and you could go in and just have a think. If I'm going to make an app, what am I going to make? And then there's a brilliant template to help you with that. Okay, so next, what we're going to do is a brilliant story from the Bongo Buddies. And I'm going to show you, these are the Bongo Buddies, ladies, and they are students who are in Ireland. They are really a group of students who are the J.K. Rowlings of coding, and they created an app called Bongo Buddies, which helps us talk about our feelings and emotions, and very much like J.K. Rowling's characters in Harry Potter, navigate the complexities of relationships and bravery. And so what they've done is they've realized that they want to support students that really struggle with their emotions, and that's what their Bongo Buddy app is. So we're going to listen to their story. Their path even led them to San Francisco, where they were the global winners of a Junior Division Social Impact Award. As you watch, I want you to try and spot as many different roles each team member took on to bring this award-winning app to life. So when they've got quite a few team members there, how many of them created that app, and what was their roles, and how did they make it so successful using all of their ideas together? Okay, let's have a look.
As teenagers, we face a lot of mental health challenges. This is why we created Bongo Buddies, a mental health app designed specifically for us.
Is our mascot and chatbot that provides certified mental health advice from our school guidance counselor. He aims to give positive advice and ways to cope. In situations where users give concerning information that he cannot help with, he will link them to contact information for chatbot.
We planned our app in Freeform, and then we created a prototype in Keynote to make sure we had clear navigation. Then we used Swift Playground to develop the app. We wanted to make sure the app was accessible to everyone, so kept this in mind when creating our app. On our homepage, we kept an accessible home screen that works with assistive touch. In Content View, we have clickable buttons that click through to every menu item in our app. The diary view is important to use, and users can type or speak their entries and use bit emojis to capture their mood. Past entries can be accessed by clicking Past Entries. In Stories, we have 2 stories that we drew and captioned, and we had our teacher narrate them. These can be used when users want to take time out. We hope to have more stories in the future. These will always be free, and users can unlock more by inserting diary entries. BongoBot is a very important feature and can be used when users need someone to talk to. We inserted if statements, so if a user inserts a response, the bot will return a certain reply. We got help with these questions from our guidance counsellor, and we have links to Childline for more information.
But Bongo Buddies is more than a chatbot. It's a mental health app with features like a diary, mood tracker, and calming sounds and stories. Unlike other mental health apps on the market, Bongo Buddy aims to be accessible to all teenagers.
Bongo under colorblind filters.
It has a daily login feature that gives the user in-game currency. Using this money, you can buy accessories for the Bongo chatbot. This encourages users to speak about their mental health in a fun and engaging way. Test. I'm Lisa. I created the Dublin Pitch PowerPoint. I coded the Keynote prototype. My favourite subject in school is DML because we have a wide variation of technology to use. I coded the home screen.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Leona, and I drew the majority of the pictures you can see in the app, including the Bongo chatbot. I also drew and wrote the story Adam the Mathematician. I typed out some of the business plan, and I love to draw.
Deegwit, I'm Roisin. I created and run the TikTok and Instagram page for Bongo, and I wrote the story Charlie's Big Adventure.
Hi, I'm Layla. I came up with the name for Bongo, the idea of us all drawing what we thought he would look like and morphing them together to get him. I also drew for the Charlie's Big Adventure story.
From Ireland, we have the Bongos for their project Bongo Buddies, wellness app for teenagers.
Boundary, students at a Cork school have developed an app which can help teenagers who may have mental health problems. The students have been chosen to represent Europe at the Technovation Summit in Silicon Valley later this year.
Hello, I'm Alicia. This is Layla, that's Leona, and that's Roisin. Together we are the Bongos from Cork, Ireland.
Bongo Buddies is now on the App Store.
That's why we created Bongo Buddies as a safe and accessible outlet towards all teenagers.
And first, it is my honor to present the Social Impact Award. And as Wycliffe mentioned, this is an award based on the impact to the community and the world at large. So with that, congratulations to the Bongos team from Ireland.
In short, I want you to be objects that disrupt the water and cause ripple effects that inspire and change the lives around you. You need to stand up, and if you all decide to stand up and be disruptors, the waves in the water will never stop. The waves of change that Technovation girls like you are initiating will never stop.
Inspiring, fun, and unbelievable.
New things, exciting, fun.
Creative, inspiring, and new experiences.
Crazy. There's a lot going on, a lot of new things. Just new.
Wow, I love watching that story. I think those girls are incredibly talented and so brave. So one of the things that struck me was, what is a disruptor and why are the Bongo Buddies disruptors? That's a little question I want you to take away from today. What is a disruptor And how can you guys be disruptors? Now, one of the remarkable aspects of the Bongos Buddies team is how each student played a distinct yet really important role, whether it was coding the homepage, penning the incredible stories. Did you see the little stories that they had there that they said they're going to create? They wrote little stories to tempt and tease their audience in, to chill them out and relax them. And then they also crafted the app. They had one of the students was doing all the little drawings and actually created the Bongo Buddy mascot itself. And so each student brought their unique talents and passions into this project. I think that's incredibly inspiring to see such teamwork where everyone's individual skills merge together to create something as impactful as this Bongo Buddy app. I'd be really interested in how many of you now download that onto your class, or your teacher can download it, and just to see how that app works. Remember, coding and app development isn't something that you do by yourself. They are collaborative projects that draw on a huge range of skills, and the Bongo Buddies, their team, showed exactly what happens when you have a group of people with lots of different ideas and lots of different skills, and then they pull them all together and they make something incredible. Right, we are ready to meet Sharon. So up next, we have Sharon. Now think of Sharon as the David Williams of the coding world, creating amazing stories in a different way through coding. Sharon wasn't always a coder. She first worked as a scientist, and then she taught herself during the pandemic into how to code. So she went away. She thought, I want to learn a new skill. And now she's not just a coder professionally, but also a software engineer at a global company, helping others to grow in their careers. And how cool is that? So we are going to introduce Sharon. Now, what I would like you to do and to remember is that we have the Padlet. I want you to think about some of the coding questions that you have popping up into your head. Now, if you want to be a coder in your own life and you want to get more into coding or programming or designing apps or games, I want you to think of a question that you would like to ask Sharon. And so you're going to get your teacher to type that into the Padlet so that we can bring those questions to Sharon in a little bit. So now is your chance to have a think about those questions whilst we chat to Sharon. Okay, I'm just going to come off.
Yeah, is that working fine?
Yeah, that's working beautifully. I can see it.
Brilliant. Well, hello, everyone. So I've just prepared a quick presentation about how I went from a scientist and became a software engineer. So I'll give you a quick introduction of myself, a detailed overview of my journey, why technology is so important, and I guess why I chose to do this as my career. So I'm Sharon. I'm a software engineer at a company called BGSS, and what we do at BGSS is it's a tech consultancy. So what that means is people from all over the world want help creating apps, or they want help creating websites or improving the software that they already have. So they come to us with their ideas, and we take these ideas, and through collaboration and teamwork, we make those ideas a reality, so that other businesses and other people can use it. I'm also a squad lead at work, and what that means is I help other people and I support other people grow and develop in their careers as software engineers and as coders. I chose to do that because I know for me it was the transition can be quite overwhelming and daunting. And I've just wanted to help other people with my experience and get them into tech. I also do early careers and recruitment. So I interview people out of university or people that want to change their career and hire them into BGSS. So as Nikki mentioned, I'm a career changer. So I retrained, and I've been a software engineer now for over 2 years. And in my time as a software engineer, I've been on 2 different projects, working with 2 different clients, helping them build software. I'll go into a bit more detail about my journey in the next slide. So how it all started was when I was very young. So growing up, tech wasn't that big. It was quite alien to people. I remember when laptops first became a thing when I was a lot younger. So I used to play on the family computer quite a lot. I was always curious to know how things work, what happens behind the scenes. And often I'd go into the command line on the computer, Google things, and just mess around and put commands in. And on many occasions, I locked the whole family out of the computer by mistake because I was playing around trying to figure out what things do. So yeah, parents weren't very happy, but that carried on. And that's how I really got into tech, really. In school, when I was younger, I did IT, and I went through a phase of really loving fonts, and I started making my own fonts as well. I also made my own browser. I literally just went on YouTube and was following a tutorial, and I made something that looked a bit like Chrome, but it was a lot simpler using a language called C++. And then I got introduced to something called Scratch, which teaches you a bit about coding. So when I was in school, computer science wasn't as popular many years ago, not as popular as it is today. So I didn't have any computer science lessons in school. So that's how I kind of went down the science route. So I really enjoyed biology, chemistry, and maths in school. And I chose those subjects for my GCSEs. And then when I went into sixth form, I focused on science. I then went on to university. I studied biochemistry and genetics, and I really loved genetics. So I decided I'm going to do a master's in molecular genetics and diagnostics. Once I finished uni, I started working as a scientist. So I worked in hospitals, I worked in private industry, and I worked in university. I did a lot of research. One of the big responsibilities that I have was people wanting to test medicines to see if they're safe for humans to take. And I did that in the laboratory by growing cells and seeing the effects of those drugs. At some point during the pandemic as well, I was in charge of telling patients whether they were positive or negative for COVID. While I was working in the scientific industry, it really highlighted the importance of tech, because we still had to do analysis. We had to know a tiny bit about coding, like the language Python. And so my love for tech only grew from there. And while I was working, I decided I'm going to change my career. So I started learning in my own time. I used a lot of online resources. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. There's a cool website called Codecademy that lets you learn coding languages. And I used something called HackerRank, which lets you use code to solve puzzles or solve problems. So as I was learning, I eventually went on to make a very simple website for one of my hobbies. I really enjoy cooking. And often I find myself losing recipes because I scribble them down on paper or put them in on my phone or on my computer, and then I can't find them anymore. So I took that problem and I was like, okay, I need a solution to that. I need to store them somewhere and maybe share them with other people. So that's how that idea came about. I just created a website and I had my recipes on it with some pictures of the food that I've cooked. And then once I applied what I've learned, I really realized that I really want to do this as a career. And then I started applying to jobs, and that's how I started working at BGSS. They've got a program or a scheme for people that have just come out of university, or for people that are career changers that are interested in going into tech. And what the academy does is it's 4 weeks of learning on the job. And then since then, I've been on 2 projects, and I've become a squad lead just a year ago. So while working, I did some more certifications in cloud computing. So things like AWS Cloud Practitioner and Azure Fundamentals. And what that is basically is learning about the cloud and how we build things and store a lot of information that you want to share with other people around the world. For example, if you're building a website, you want people from America, people from all over the world, the UK, Europe, to access it. So learning about the infrastructure around that and how to build things to make them as efficient as possible. So what I really love about my job is that most of the time I feel like a really cool detective. You're always finding problems that you need to find solutions to. So fixing problems and a lot of problem solving. And it's a lot more than just coding. It's a lot of collaboration, and you work in a team, and the team has a lot of many skills. So we look at user research. So we talk to people using an app or to people using a website and get some information and insight from them onto how we can improve it. We also work on design, testing the work that we've done. And one very big important thing as well that we do as software engineers is accessibility. We want to make sure that the apps and that the websites that we design are easy to use for everyone and are inclusive and accessible. So you always work on so many different things, so many different cool things, and it never gets boring. It's always exciting, and you're always learning new things. So for me, and today, in today's world anyway, technology is very important. It's everywhere. You've got electric vehicles now, phones, computers. Technology is so interesting because it's constantly changing. New things are constantly happening. New languages are happening. When I was younger, there weren't as many coding languages as there are today. And for that reason, just because it's such a big part of our life, it's very valuable to understand it. There are many ways to learn. So for me, for example, I learned using online resources. There's a lot of coding boot camps that you can do online, and also robotics. So earlier we looked at the microbit, which is something that I've learned today. I've never heard of that. So I'll probably be researching it after and maybe having a play around with that. But there's also something called a Raspberry Pi, which similarly allows you to use code and learn to build things. So that's kind of how you can do it through robotics. So I guess for me, why I changed my career is a career is something that you choose to do for a very long period of time. So it's something that you should enjoy and something that you should really love and completely be passionate about. And that's why I chose to go into tech. I've always had that love for tech from a very young age. And I didn't pursue it just because computer science or those subjects were not available for me in school. But regardless, it's still possible. And this is a quote that I really, really love by Steve Jobs, and I tend to include it in my presentations because it really resonates and it's quite close to my experience. So he said, "The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle." And I can't imagine doing any other job, really. I absolutely love being a software engineer. I'm always learning. I'm always helping people build things and improve things. So yeah, thank you.
Sharon, that was so interesting and so exciting to listen to you. Just a quick note, I have the bin men going past at the moment, so it's going to be a bit noisy for a few minutes. But Sharon, thank you so much. It was brilliant. And I was so excited because I've just finally checked out the Padlet and we have so many questions for you, Sharon. So Terry, are you with us?
I am.
Great. So what I wanted here, we've got some great questions. I'm just going to go through them. Terry, did you have this bit organised?
Yes, so one of the questions from some of the students is, and I really like this one actually, does it get easier to code?
Yes, it does. So for me, it was a lot of practice. At the beginning, it was a bit difficult because I was learning, but that's quite normal. I think that's expected when you're picking up a new skill. It might be a bit challenging at the beginning, but the important thing is that if you enjoy it, you just because of the enjoyment, that makes you want to carry on. And yeah, you get really good at it over time.
Brilliant. And here's another one I really liked. What's the hardest part when you're coding?
So sometimes, especially when you're coding in a big team or working on really big software, you can imagine there's a lot of code. And I'd say the most difficult thing is when something breaks, you need to investigate and figure out why it has broken. And what we call that is debugging. So there's a lot of tools that software engineers use to look into why something broke, and you kind of have to trace it down to the specific code that was written and then rectify it. So I'd say that's probably the most challenging bit.
Amazing. What was the first project you ever coded?
So the first one was when I was younger. It was just a personal project, and that's when I used C++. And I followed a YouTube tutorial to make a web browser, and it was a very, very simple web browser. So I was able to kind of put in a website and it would take me to that website. In terms of while working as a software engineer, my first project was helping a construction company build software so that they could do calculations to figure out insulation for people's homes or for buildings, and to make sure that they were compliant with the laws. So that was the first one, and that was in C#.
Amazing. And kind of what's it like to be a coder, like day to day? What do you do, like your routine most days?
So I think a lot of people think that being a coder means that you just sit on your computer and you just code all day and don't talk to other people, but that's far from the truth. You get to work with a lot of different people from different backgrounds. So, for example, at work, the team that I currently work in, we've got a user experience researcher. So his responsibility is to go away, talk to users of the app that we're working on or the website that we're working on and get feedback. That feedback then kind of comes back to the team. We all work together to improve the product, to make it better for the users, alongside a designer. So the designer ensures that the colors are right. It's easy for people to see or to read, because some people have color blindness and things like that, and we want to make our app as accessible as possible. We also work with a tester whose responsibility is to kind of test the code that we've written once we've written it and tested it as well, just to make sure nothing's broken. So yeah, it's a lot of collaboration, talking with people. I'd say maybe 20% of my job is actually sitting and coding. And even when I'm coding, we're usually pair programming and working with other people and brainstorming.
That's brilliant, because like you say, people have this perception that actually it's a solo activity. Can you tell me a little bit more about the paired programming?
Yeah, sure. So there's many different ways to do it. There isn't a set kind of rule. It's what works for the pair. And that's the nice thing about working as a software engineer, working in coding, is that it's very flexible. There isn't one way to do it. So usually the way that I personally do it is when I'm pair programming with someone, we take turns. So one person is driving. And what that means is they're the person that's writing the code and the other person's sat with them kind of talking through it. And then every 20 minutes or so, when the code is at a place where we can hand over, we'll swap and keep doing that and take breaks in between as well.
Amazing, thank you. Finally, my last question, what advice would you give to someone, especially our young students today, who are interested into diving into this world of coding?
Ooh. Honestly, just go for it. These days, it's so easy because technology is so accessible, a lot more accessible than when I was younger. A lot of people have got iPads, phones, computers. And the nice thing about coding or learning how to program is that if you break something, it's not the end of the world. It's digital. So don't be afraid to break things. That's how you learn. Just go on a computer. You can follow some YouTube tutorials. Start coding. If things break, you're doing the right thing, because even as a professional software engineer, we're always breaking things and we have to fix them. And that's a big part of the fun of the job.
That's amazing advice. Thank you so much. I really like that piece. Thank you. Nikki?
Right, that is so brilliant, and we're just loving all the questions that are coming through, and Sharon has really come up with just lots of advice for you. Go away and play. You have the technology in so many different ways, so it's a great idea. Just go away and find something to tinker with and play with. I'm going to share with you our last element of this assembly, which is about that really important concept of paired programming. Okay. And Sharon, one of the things that I love about this is that I didn't realize that paired programming was something that coders do in the real world. I thought it was something that we do in schools in order to help us facilitate collaboration. But actually, this is something you can do in your classrooms, and it's what real coders do every day in their job. So I'm going to share my screen and let's see if we can get this going.
Today, we're going to learn about pair programming. In pair programming, you work as a team.
Why should two people use one computer?
Why should two people use one computer? Because two heads are better than one. We work together in an interesting kind of way.
Because we're interesting people.
We are interesting people.
In pair programming, you and your partner are going to sit down together at one computer and you are both going to work on the same project.
Right now, we're working on code monsters. Oh no, a fire monster. We don't have enough time. I'm sorry. We'll get to it later. In pair programming, one person is the driver and the other person is the navigator.
Just like driving a car. Your choice, driver or navigator?
Driver. The driver sits at the computer and is the one using the keyboard, mouse, or touchscreen and controlling the main actions of the computer. I'm setting all the arrows so that they make the character move in the direction he's trying to move.
The other person is the navigator. The navigator helps the driver by answering the driver's questions and pointing out potential problems or mistakes. Go left, and instead of righty-tighty, go right. Communication is key to a successful pair programming.
No insults. Be respectful. Don't be a bossy navigator, because nobody likes a backseat driver.
Here, why can't you do this?
Wait. Hey, stop that. Give it back.
Wait,
that's not nice. Give it back.
Just one thing.
Communication is key to successful pair programming. Did the cat say something after?
You and your partner should always be talking. Okay, so there's the cat.
The driver can explain what she or he is doing. Do you think it would ruin it to type something extra? And the navigator can help suggest what to do next.
Can you write a program that makes the dog move to the target? The navigator should be thinking about the big picture.
And the driver focuses on the details.
Both roles are important. Want to switch?
Okay.
I'm the driver now. Be sure to switch roles often.
Okay. Wait a second, why isn't this working?
You need to attach it up there. Look, there's a hole.
Did you see how my partner helped me figure out the puzzle on fewer tries? She caught my mistake.
Yay, good job!
Pair programming is all about working together
as a team.
What I love about that is that coding is not a solo activity. It's often a team effort, and that can enhance many areas of your life, including your school projects and even your friendships. So you have heard from different authors today who have coded their ideas, inspirations and solutions into reality. But I'm sure you've got loads of questions and loads you want to dive deeper. So our discussion doesn't end there. What I want you to do is to talk to your teachers and take this a little bit further. Okay. Cora's innovative microbits project, you can find those on the Padlet. We had the inspiring student team of Bongo Buddies who played a vital role, and each of them were brilliant in their own unique way. They didn't all have to get into the coding bit. Some of them were drawing, some of them were creating the stories, and some of them were pulling all those pieces together to make the bigger app. And then we've got Sharon, who showed us that coding could be a second career and an avenue for leading people into the coding world, like she's doing today, where she's talking to you and presenting on how brilliant coding is and how exciting it is and how to get into it. So you guys, this is what I want for you. Move forward. Why not channel today's inspiration into creating your own app idea so you can create your drawing? Remember, I talked to you about the keynote presentation. Teachers on the Padlet, there's loads of questions, but if you keep scrolling all the way to the bottom, you're going to find the keynote presentation that you can download and share with your students to map out that brilliant app idea. And you could even put in some animations and magic moves so that when you click on a button, it will move you to the next screen. And I wonder if you can code your keynote presentation to work like an app. Educators in the room, one last thing, we have an incredible opportunity for you, and here is our upcoming course by Jigsaw24. So scan the QR code if you really want to work on microbits and embedding those into your own practice and bringing those to your students. We have a course that's coming up. So scan that QR code. If it's not interesting to you, or you know that someone in your school who would be fascinated by this, please share the link. Okay, so final things. Today, we have been very privileged to hear from all of these remarkable coders. And remember, coding is an inclusive field. It is a beneficial skill for all of you, whether you're a teacher, a student, or simply someone who's incredible like Sharon today. Thank you for engagement and enthusiasm. And that's the end of our assembly. Have a brilliant day, everybody.